என்னடா யோசிக்கிற? There is nothing to think so much மச்சான். தைரியமா போ. ட்ரஸ்டபிள்ரா. 3 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாடி என்ன பார்த்துருக்கல, இப்போ நான் பார்க்குறல்ல. How confident I am because I have taken a right decision. நான் கொடுத்த அட்ரஸ் போய் விசிட் பண்ணு. You will have a personal care from them.
எல்லா பேஷண்ட்ஸுக்கும் பர்சனல் கேர் தராங்க. 30 years of proven medical records. All eye care treatment under one roof. அதான் ஆர்கே ஐ சென்டரோட ஸ்பெஷாலிட்டி.
My dear children of God, it's my pleasure to be with you all once again for this episode, how to lead a life that would be pleasing to the Lord. Purpose-driven life. I've been sharing with you how God can intervene in our secular life and help us to grow in our career. This week I am going to share on how God intervened in Joseph's life. We'll get into spiritual now before we again go back into secular. In the book of Genesis, in the chapter 37, we find how God gives a dream to Joseph and how he slowly helps him to realize that as the years go by. And even Joseph would have found it difficult to accept or see what was happening to him, because what he dreamt and what was happening was totally different. Similarly, my dear children of God, God can give us lot of promises, but it will take its own time and God has His own ways of implementing that. We should be patient. We must wait for His time to happen. Now let us see what happens in the book of Genesis 37 chapter. Jacob lived in the land where his father had stayed, the land of Canaan. This is the account of Jacob's family line. Joseph, a young man of 17, was tending the flocks with his brothers, the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and he brought their father a bad report about them. Joseph basically seemed to have been a righteous boy. Because of that, when his siblings were not very righteous, he was complaining to his father. This was not very much appreciated by his own brothers. This is what we find in Joseph. Now Israel, third verse. Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons, because he had been born to him in his old age, and he made an ornate robe for him. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. This is another thing we learn. We should not show favoritism. Here Jacob is showing favoritism. He loves Joseph more because he was born to Rachel, his beloved wife, and born last. Therefore he showers lot of love onto him, which his other children don't like it. Lesson: we should not show favoritism, because this can harm that child. Now fifth verse, Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. He said to them, "Listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out of the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it." Here he visually says, I am at the center, you people are going to bow down to me. This also calls for maturity. At times there are something we are not supposed to share, but he was a boy of 17. He just adds what he saw. Now what we should understand is God can speak through dreams. That is why the kings kept magicians, soothsayers to interpret dreams. Whether he should have told the dreams to his family members is another issue. This had made them all the more jealous. His brothers said to him in the verse 8, Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us? And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said. Then he had another dream, and he told it to his brothers. Listen, he said, I had another dream, and this time the sun, moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me. When he told his father as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, What is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you? His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. Joseph had a lot of dreams earlier, so he knew something is happening, but still he couldn't understand how can this be that he and mother and all the brothers are going to bow down to him. But we know God is working something which is going to happen later. So the curtains are slowly getting open. Till that time we will not know what is happening. Even in our own life, God may promise something, but it can happen later, and many things we may not able to understand. We must wait on God's time. Now his brothers had gone to graze their father's flock near Shechem, and Israel said to Joseph, As you know, your brothers are grazing the flocks near Shechem. Come, I am going to send you to them. Joseph was not allowing Joseph to join his brothers in tending flocks. He was keeping him with him, but once when his other children were taking some time to return, he is sending him. So he said to him in the verse 14, Go and see if all is well with your brothers and with the flock, and bring word back to me. Then he sent him off from the valley of Hebron. In those days there was no communication. You have to physically go and see. When Joseph arrived at Shechem, a man found him wandering around in the fields and asked him, What are you looking for? He replied, I am looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where they are grazing their flocks? They have moved on from here, the man said. I heard them say, Let's go to Dothan. So Joseph went after his brothers and found them near Dothan. But they saw him in the distance, and before he reached them, they plotted to kill. Here comes the dreamer, they said to one another. Come, let us kill him, throw him into one of these cisterns, and say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we will see what comes to his dreams. Their first idea was to kill him and throw him into the cistern. When Reuben heard this, he tried to rescue him from their hands. Let us not take his life. Don't shed any blood. Throw him into the cistern here in the wilderness, but don't lay a hand on him. Reuben said this to rescue him from them and take him back to his father. Reuben, though lost his firstborn right for having slept with his Jacob's concubine Bilhah, wanted to save Joseph from getting killed. The brothers intended to harm, but God knows how to protect. When God promises, He moves the heart of the concerned people to intervene and save. This we can take it from this episode. Now verse 23. So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe, the ornate robe he was wearing, and they took him and threw him in the cistern. The cistern was empty, there was no water. As they sat down to eat their meal, they looked up and saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead. Their camels were loaded with spices, balms, and myrrh, and they were on their way to take them to Egypt. Here we see they intended to harm Joseph, but Reuben tried to rescue. Now Reuben was not there. If he would have been there, he would not allow them to sell him. It's again God's providence that He allows them to sell him. We know that unless Joseph was sold as a slave, he couldn't have become a master later. So God works in a ways we cannot understand. And we know that all things, in this is what we get it in Romans 8:28, and we know that in all things God works for good of those who love Him, who have called according to His purpose. So when God decides to help, even when something bad happens, He can turn it to the good. Judah said to brothers in verse 26, What will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come, let us sell him to to the Ishmaelites and not lay hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood. Earlier, Reuben rescued Joseph. Now God uses Judah to suggest that they should not kill Joseph but to sell him instead. 28th verse. So when Midianite merchants came by, his brothers pulled Joseph out of the cistern and sold him to 20 shekels of silver, who took him to the Egypt. When Reuben returned to the cistern and saw that Joseph was not there, he tore his clothes. He went back to his brothers and said, "The boy is not there. Where can I turn now?" Again, it is God's providence that Reuben was not there. Otherwise, he would not have allowed even that to happen. In which case, Joseph could not have learnt administration and climbed the ladder of career in quick succession at Pharaoh's place. Even God helped me to climb the career ladder and promoted me and taught me so many lessons before I became an entrepreneur. Verse 31. Then they got Joseph's robe, slaughtered a goat and dipped the robe in the blood. They took the ornate robe back to the father and said, "We found this. Examine it and see whether it is your son's robe." He recognized it and said, "It is my son's robe. Some ferocious animal has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces." Then Jacob tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned for his son many days. All his sons and daughters came to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "No," he said, "I will continue to mourn until I join my son in the grave." So his father wept. Jacob deceived his father earlier, Isaac, but now he is being deceived by his own children. So, my dear children, when we do something, it comes back to us. In verse 36 we see, meanwhile, the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard. So here what we see is, when God plans something, he can intervene and see to that his plan ultimately prevails. He intervenes through Reuben, later through Judah, and later through this caravan. See, right time he brings right people to see that his plans are fulfilled for his glory. And it is not just Joseph being elevated. He is going to protect the whole Israelites into future protection through Joseph. So God has a mega plan and has a minor plan through Joseph elevation. Similarly, God can have lot of plans for us. Each step is a plan. We should be thankful to God and obey all his commands, so that whatever happens, happens for good. He can turn even the bad things to good things when we depend on him. So my dear children of God, Joseph's life is a great example for us to be patient and wait and face all the calamities, hoping that God will turn around all this bad into good. Thank you.
அப்பாயின்மெண்ட் வாங்கிட்டல?
வாங்கிட்டேன்க்கா.
Hey, why are you getting nervous? Last month பிரியா குட்டியோட அங்க தான் விசிட் பண்ணேனா. எக்கனாமிக்கல்டா. இன்சூரன்ஸ் கூட கிளைம் பண்ணிக்கலாம். ப்ரீமெச்சூர் பேபிஸ்ல இருந்து ஓல்ட் ஏஜ் பீப்பிள் வரைக்கும் விசிட் பண்ற ஒரு இடம்.
எல்லா பேஷண்ட்ஸுக்கும் பர்சனல் கேர் தராங்க. 30 years of proven medical records. ஆர்கே ஐ சென்டர் டி நகர்ல இருக்கிறதுனால accessible to all places.
Youngsters, you guys must take the right decision at the right time with the right people.